So in this video, we go over 5 marathon tips that I wish I knew sooner. Let's get into it. Okay, so just finished a 6-mile fartlek workout. So essentially I did 2 minutes fast, 1 minute slow. Finished at a 7:29 pace, and ironically, my first marathon tip for you is don't focus on pace, focus on consistency. You see, when I started marathon training back in 2020, I was really focused on wanting to qualify for Boston, and that's a 650 mile pace for 26.2 miles. And I would get so frustrated with my training because I'd come up short on both my pace and my mileage. And this year specifically, I've really focused on consistency of weekly mileage and increasing my weekly mileage over time. And because of that, this time last year, a 9:30 pace would be an easy pace for me. This year, an 8-minute pace is easy for me. And that has a lot to do with my aerobic base that I've built. I've run over 1,000 miles this year alone, which is even more than I ran total last year. And it's because I've been focusing on increasing my weekly mileage, being consistent on a weekly basis, and intertwining some speed work along the way. But I'm okay with adjusting. And so what's more important to me is when I wake up, I focus on what are the miles that I need to put in. Am I physically ready for it? Am I mentally ready for it? Can I increase my pace over time? Sure. But I'm focused on being consistent, coming out every day and training both my mind as well as my body to take on the brutality of training for a marathon. So that way when the marathon comes, I'm not gonna hit that 18-mile wall. I'm not gonna hit that 22-mile wall, or in this case, running an ultra marathon this summer, I won't hopefully hit a 44-mile wall. I probably will, but I know I'm much more prepared for it now because my pace has gotten so much better over time, and it's 100% because I've been consistent, not because I've been trying to get faster.
All right, so my next marathon tip is going to be don't be afraid to eat. It's so important because you're gonna burn way more calories than you're probably used to. I burn anywhere from 2,700 to 3,800 calories when I'm training, especially when I'm hitting high mileage. And so I need to ensure that I have enough food in my system, so that way when I wake up in the morning, I have a small bite or some carbohydrates or fruit before I go on my run, and I can really hit those reserves as I'm hitting mile 8 or 9 or 10 respectively. And so I'm having a hearty breakfast, I'm having a hearty lunch, and typically having a good dinner. So for tonight, I'm making some pork, but what's really important is you don't want to stray away from the type of food that you really, really love. So I'm gonna have a glass of wine. I'll probably go ahead and do a video later on someday of like how does alcohol affect your marathon training overall, because I definitely have some opinions on that. But for this specific video, I think what's so important is that you don't want to skip a meal or skip something you really enjoy. If you like ice cream, go and get ice cream. That's totally fine. You're gonna burn so many calories, and because you are running so much, you're gonna be burning even more calories when you're resting. For instance, I have not focused solely on my diet. I've ate what I want in the past 6 months, and I have burned or I've lost about 22 pounds already, and that's mainly because I've been focusing on my weekly mileage and been really consistent, but I have absolutely indulged in a glass of wine or a beer when I want one, or a really hearty dinner, or even a second dinner. I went out to eat and I had 2 burgers. Like, that's okay because I'm gonna burn it the next day.
Okay, so 4.5 miles into my 9-mile run. This was supposed to be a workout yesterday, but I went ahead and did it today. And so my next marathon tip for you is going to be don't be afraid to adjust both your long-term and your short-term goals. I can't tell you how many times I've went out for a run and I've wanted to hit a certain pace or a certain distance, and I come up short a third of the way or half of the way through and realize I'm not mentally or physically ready for this, or I didn't fuel properly. And it becomes really frustrating. You start questioning, why am I doing this? Am I really going to be capable of hitting these goals? And when it comes to my goals, I know that no matter if I go up for my 9-mile run today, or if I come up short by a few miles, or my pace is a little bit off to what I really wanted to do or what I thought I needed to do, that's okay, because I'm consistent, and I know that each run is compounding on each other, and I'm becoming a better runner. I'm becoming just honestly a better person overall, and that's really how running has changed my life, and why I'm going to continue to do this. And the marathons are just an extra layer of challenge and keeping me consistent and disciplined. So just don't be afraid to adjust when you have to. All right, so my next marathon tip is be comfortable with getting uncomfortable. You'll find that when you hit mile 18 or 20 or 22 in a marathon, especially if it's your first one, a lot of this is going to be a mental game, because you're going to hit that wall and you're going to start questioning, should I continue to keep running? Is this for me? Should I stop? And you might even start thinking like, hey, I'm never going to do this again. That was me in 2021. And here I am running way more than I ever have before and going into my first ultra marathon. And so when you realize this, you can start thinking about ways in which you can make yourself uncomfortable in your day-to-day life, whether it's in training or outside, to really callous your mind and remind yourself that uncomfort or pain is absolutely temporary. This year specifically, what I've done is I have put myself in uncomfortable environments that have allowed me not only to grow as a runner, but also as a just person in general. And so one of those things is cold exposure or cold plunging. This is something that I do about twice a week, and it has a lot of benefits in recovery for athletes. However, one thing specifically that I really enjoy is that it's really helped me callous my mind and allowed me to understand that pain or uncomfort is absolutely temporary, and the outcome can always be very pleasurable afterwards. And so this is something that has really helped me get on my long runs and to continue my pace and continue my grind forward, because I just remind myself, hey, this long run sucks, but I have the cold plunge later that's going to really help, or I have a cold plunge now and it's really helping from that long run from earlier. The other thing that I'm doing is what I'm doing here right now, being in front of camera and talking and starting a YouTube channel. This is not something that's natural for me and something that's taken time for me to get somewhat more comfortable with. And I just want to say thank you, because I just hit over 100,000 views, and subscribing to the channel has been extremely supportive. So thank you for doing that if you have already. I know I'm much more prepared now than I ever have been to just crash right into that wall and continue to move forward. Okay, so the next marathon tip, or the last marathon tip for this video, is going to be mobility and stretching. Surprise, surprise, I know I've talked about this so many times in my other videos, and I'm going to continue to talk about it, because stretching is something that I did not do nearly enough as I was getting back into running in 2020, and I really paid the price going into 2022, where I just had debilitating back pain, and it really came down to extremely poor flexibility and strength in my hips and my core, and it's been an uphill battle ever since. And so I've been doing a ton of pigeon and lizard and stretching my hamstrings on the wall. These guys are always constantly stretching with me, but you need to prioritize stretching before you run, but more importantly, after your run. Just what I typically do is I put a session of pliability on, and I will go ahead and stick in a pose for 3 to 5 minutes. And what that allows is just for those muscles to relax, stretch out, and really just release all that tension that's built up on the pounding of pavement. As you're increasing your mileage week over week, your body and your joints will absolutely thank you. But if you're going to listen to anything on this video, do not skip out on your mobility.